Good morning, one and all. So today we'll discuss on the embedded system design concepts. So in this today's class, we will discuss about the automotive domain specific example of an embedded system. So here we'll taking the example of a car, the vehicle car system. So in the yesterday's class, we have seen the example of a washing machine, that is with respect to the application, the application specific example. Here the domain specific example is nothing but the embedded systems. They are used in automotive, telecom, communication, and in also in the industrial. So with respect to the domain, what is the example? It is given that designing and how my embedded system control the systems are there in the automotive, that we are going to discuss in the today's class, right? So here we'll study with respect to the vehicle system. So this is the example that embedded system that is shown in the automotive domain. Here the car is shown. So what are these parts? So in the automotive car system, right, in the car, we are not only having a single embedded system, there are more than 20 to 30 embedded system or the microcontrollers are installed in the car. In the modern car, you will be having more than 70 to 80 microcontrollers, right? So why so many embedded components or embedded systems are required in the automotive domain system? Here is in the car system. Just see the example here. In the car, we are having an air conditioner, right? So the air conditioner we have seen, basically we have to control the temperature inside the car also. For that also we require one embedded system, right? So for that there will be one electronic unit will be there which will control the temperature inside the room, inside the car, right? And also you can see here the airbag control. So there is one more embedded system is also required, that is known as the airbag control, right? So whenever an accident happens, so immediately the airbag has to open and it has to avoid the accident. For that also you require one embedded system, okay? And for seat control, we have to adjust the seat automatically. For that also we require one embedded system, right? And coming to here, you have a engine control. For that also you have a one embedded system, and also for the fuel injection control, right? And ABS is nothing but the anti-braking system, anti-lock braking system, right? So whenever immediately an accident or emergency we have to apply the brake, that time the car has to control the speed, right? So for that also we require the anti-lock braking system, embedded system, and also we require the suspension on the road, right? So, and again the power windows. Power windows is means automatically it can open the windows. For that also we require one embedded system, and also for the mirror control, right? So there are in the car, in the automotive car system, that is the example here, there are more than 20 to 30 microcontrollers will be installed, and which will be having a separate electronic unit, right? So this is what is you can see in the diagram, okay? So now will come inner working of the automotive embedded system, right? So here in the automotive embedded systems, they are built around the microcontroller, or some of them are built around the digital signal processor, right? If they are used in embedded system, then that unit is called here it as an electronic control unit, right? And some of the embedded system, they are have to respond to a quick response, that is hard real system we can call. Some of them are soft real system. So based on that, we will be having the electronic control units. Electronic control unit is nothing but an embedded system where the microcontroller, sensors, actuators are used in the vehicle system, just like a airbag control system, that is called as a one electronic control unit, where you will be having the microcontroller and there will be a sensor, right? And there will be an actuator. So based on that, one electronic unit will be there. So like that in the car, you will be having more than 20 electronic control units will be there. So based on that, they are categorized into two: high-speed electronic control units and the low-speed electronic control units. Why they have divided like this? Because whenever the embedded system has to respond quickly So the bus configuration or the bus protocol what you are using, they should be very fast. Based on that, they are dividing the electronic control unit into two: high speed electronic control unit and low speed. What is a high speed electronic control unit? That I told, anti-lock brake system, right? Even the airbag control. So these are the high speed. Why? Because they have to operate in a real time system, right? If they don't operate in a real time system, it is going to cause a hazardous thing or an accident may happen, right? And what is the low speed electronic control unit? In this, you can take the example of automatic car lock opening, right? The door lock or the door glass control, door audio control, and these all will come under the low speed electronic control unit. Here, the embedded system, the microcontroller or the microprocessor which is used, which is low in cost, but whereas in high speed, the microcontroller has to respond very fast. So therefore, the high speed microcontroller will be used in this electronic units, right? So this is what is there in the vehicle system. But next we will see what are the communication buses that are used in the vehicle system, right? So in the vehicle, in the car, there will be more than 20 to 30 electronic control units will be there. They are nothing but the embedded system which will be doing a particular task. But all these units on the time, they have to communicate at the same time. So for that, you require the buses. So which are the bus protocols that are used in the vehicle system? So these three you have to remember. The first one is the CAN, that is Control Area Network. This is most commonly used in all the vehicles, not only in the car, buses, tractor, right? So that is used in the vehicle system, right? So here, all the electronic control unit that are designed in the car, they will be communicating with the Control Area Network Protocol bus, right? And here it is a these all electronic control units, they are connected together with the wires, right? And basically this CAN will be mostly used, it is generally employed in safety system like airbag control and anti-lock brake system. Why? Because this CAN is a fast and it is a error-free handling data transmission. So in the anti-lock brake system or the airbag control, the data has to be transferred very fast because it has to respond to the real time. So therefore, in most of the vehicles, every vehicle has a airbag control. So there, the CAN bus protocol is used, and how they communicate is they will be sending the data over the bus through with the help of the packets. They will send the packet, right? So whichever the electronic control unit require that packet, will see if it is required, then otherwise it will transmit to the next electronic control unit that is there in the system, right? So it is a 64-bit electronic, CAN control frame packets are there, right? So we are not studying in detail in that. Just to remember that the control area network, it is most commonly used communication bus in the vehicle system, right? And the second one is LIN, that is a local interconnect network. So in this local interconnect network, this is also one protocol which is used in the vehicle system, where there will be one single master will be there and there are more than 16 slaves will be there, right? So master will be taking an initiative in the data transfer and the slave will respond to that. But here, this CAN is a high speed, whereas the LIN is a low speed, right? So here it is also a single wire communication interface is there, but the data speed will be up to only 20 kilobit per second. And here, these are used in sensor or actuator interfacing where the time response is not so critical. In that case, just like a door lock opening or the automatic window opening, so there this LIN control, the local interconnect network bus protocol will come into picture. Then the third one is the media oriented system transport, that is the MOST, right? So this is basically used in most of the vehicle system. You must have seen there will be the audio and the video system will be there, right? So these audio and the video equipments, they are using the media oriented system transport protocol, right? Because they have to connect to the network, yes, right? Sometimes if you are watching the movie, or sometimes GPS has to be downloaded if you want to see the roadmap or anything, or if you want to play the audio from the network. So there, the bus configuration that is used is media oriented system transport. And here it is a point-to-point network, and it will be implemented with a star, ring, or a daisy chain topology for the communication, right? So next we will see. So this is what the application of the automotive domain specific. So there will be one question on this. Explain automotive domain specific one example with a diagram, right? So just you remember, you just draw the car where you can show them airbag control and the window control. Those diagrams you can draw this diagram, right? And then what you can do here, you have to explain the what are the various buses that are used in the automotive communication buses, and what is the speed and all that you have to explain, right? So there will be one question about this, about 10 marks. Explain the automotive, explain the embedded system application with respect to the domain specific. So you can give the example of a car vehicle system, and what are the electronic control units that are used, you can explain, and what are the buses that are used in the vehicle system that you have to explain, right? So next we will see the second part in the today's section will be the embedded firmware design process, right? So now before that, like we have studied all the embedded system components, right? And also sensors, actuators. There are n number of hardware components are required for to design embedded system, and also the microcontroller. What are the different types of microcontrollers that are used in the embedded system? And also we have seen the memory, RAM, ROM. What are the different types of RAM and ROM are required? And we have seen what are the different types of buses that are used in the embedded system, right? So now the question is, now if only the hardware components are there or configured, is your system is going to work? No, you require all the systems or the components to be connected, and then you have to make them operation, right? How this is possible? For that you have to go for some of the embedded system, you have to go with the writing the coding. Firmware is nothing but the software. You have to write the programming, or you have to install the operating system also. On the top of that, you have to run the coding or the application, right? So here the embedded firmware design approach discusses about if your embedded system has to really work, that means all the hardware components should be connected and it should be made in operation. That is possible with writing with the help of a software. So there are two design approaches are there. The first one is conventional procedural based firmware design. Also it is called as a super loop model or the infinite model. We will see what is this. And the second one is embedded operating system based design. So these are the two approaches that are used in designing the embedded firmware, right? So first we will discuss what is the super loop based approach. So what is a super loop based approach? Like, so some of the embedded system, they don't require an operating system. It is not necessary that all the embedded system has to run on operating system. So there are certain embedded system which will run without an operating system also. In that, the concept, writing the software, the approach is used is super loop based approach, or also it is called as the infinite model, right? And these super loop based approach, one thing you remember, they are not time critical. That means they are not responding with respect to the time. Even these are called as a soft real time system. If even if the just like the hard real time, the example is which will respond very fast, right? Suppose airbag control system is there, anti-lock, they have to respond quickly with respect to the event, otherwise accident may happen. So in that case the approach is different, but the super loop based approach is only where the time is not critical, right? Even if the time is, if the event doesn't happen in a particular time, nothing is going to happen. So this in that embedded system this approach is used, right? How the coding is written? So it is conventional procedural programming. Procedural programming is nothing but, you can see that in C programming, right? You will be writing a program step by step, and the sequences will be happening one by one. So that is called conventional procedural programming. That is one by one, the task will go on doing, right? So the firmware execution flow for this is, we are not using any operating system. We are just only the simple C programming can be used with such particular embedded system designing. So what you have to do for writing any embedded coding for this, first you have to configure the common parameters. What are the common parameters? Suppose you are designing an embedded system. For that, what is the type of the memory you are using? What is the type of a resistors you are using? Is there any hardware configuration has to be done? So that common parameters you have to specify in the program. And also, then you go on giving what are the tasks to be done with respect to the embedded system one by one. So first give the first task and do the next task. Like that, you go on writing what are the sequence of the steps to be done. Suppose take the example of a card reader, right? So what is a card reader? Or the card reader will basically read and write the data. The sequences are what? Reading the data and writing the data. So here first you enter your username and then password. Then you enter the data and that data will go and write in the memory. So these are the simple tasks. So they will be doing step by step. First user login, then password. If it is authenticated, then you will write something data, right? So here the steps are done. Here the sequences are done step by step. So here in the firmware execution flow is, you have to configure the parameters for memory register, then sequences to be executed done one by one. And then after executing the last task, again it has to go back to the first task again. So that's why it is called as the infinite loop model, right? So it will not come out of this. The example is even given for the embedded system is a video game, right? Some of the video games you will be playing with that, right? So you have to come out with unless you don't press any key, it will not come out, right? So those example embedded system, they are designed on the super loop based approach. The simple C programming approach is like this. So this is what you have to write here. That is, it is written in the C. So here wide main. So here the no operating system is required. You just remember only we are writing the program. Suppose any embedded system you are designing. So what are its parameters, like what is its memory, how much RAM is there, any registers you are using, all those parameters should be initialized at the first stage. And then what you have to do in the while loop, which are the sequential tasks to be executed for that embedded system should be written one by one. So here why it is written while one, in the bracket you are writing there are n number of tasks are there, because the same task is again repeatedly executed here, right? Unless you don't put any interrupt or press any key, it will not come out of this one. So this is what is a super loop based approach, right? So here the example I just told you, that the card reader or the electronic video game toy. The card reader is nothing but, I just told you, the basic example, the ATM card reader, when you insert a card, right? You put your username and then the password, then it will ask you some, enter your, there are sequence of steps will be there. First user login, then the password, that is the second step. Then what is the next one? It will ask you the how much amount you want to transfer, that is the third step. It will ask you the again next step, how much amount you want to withdraw, right? So these are the sequences will be going again and again, and then you have to press one key to come out of that, right? So here the reading and writing of the data is taking place. So there the super loop based approach is used. So this is also called as infinite loop model. Okay, so one point you remember, this doesn't require any operating system, and the tasks how they are decided based on the priorities. So based on the priorities, the tasks are executed one by one. Now coming to this approach, what are the disadvantages, right? The disadvantages with the super loop based design approach is, suppose any single task okay, any single task, suppose if it is not working, then the whole system will break. This is what is a disadvantage of a superloop design approach. And also in an embedded system, if the number of tasks go on increasing, then what happens, the time is also more, and if any one of the tasks, suppose in between it get crashed, then the whole system crashes. So this is what the disadvantages of the super loop design approach, right? Then next we will see the embedded operating system based approach. So here the most of the embedded system where super loop model are there, those are basically applied in the low cost embedded system design. But most of the most of the washing machine, they are all designed on the embedded operating system based approach, where the operating system is required. So what are the types of the operating system we have already discussed? The one is general operating system and the real-time operating system. So here in the embedded operating based approach, we'll be using the real-time operating system, right? And here, what are the examples of the real-time operating systems are? You have to remember Symbian, Embedded Linux, ThreadX, Windows Embedded Compact. So these are the most commonly used real-time operating system that are used in the embedded system. So here how the applications are written. So first, for these embedded system, first the real-time operating system has to be installed. And then on the top of that, there is driver software for different hardware. Suppose for embedded system, you have a RAM is there or a sensor is there, actuators are there. So those sensor has to be identified with the operating system, and those driver software has to be installed on the top of the operating system. And then after recognizing all the components that are there on the embedded system PCB board, then you have to write a application. That again you can use either C or C++ or even the assembly language coding, right? So this is what is the embedded operating system based approach. So again, this will be learning in detail. In the 5th module, you will be learning real-time operating system. What is that? Which will respond to the real-time response, right? So here, so that we will be seeing in detail in the 5th module. But here they are talking about how the coding is written. So there are two approaches I have discussed. The second one is the embedded operating system based. So most of the embedded system, they run on RTOS, right? Again, for RTOS, once you install all the components which you are using, actuator, sensor, those driver has to be installed. After recognizing all the components in the embedded system, then you have to make them to work. For that, again, you have to write the program in either C or C++ or the assembly language. So that we will discuss in the next class. Okay, thank you.